Hi, Kyle.
Hi, Jeff.
Welcome back
Here we are.
to our CCN Backstage.
There it is.
Episode 4.
Four episodes in.
Podcast.
We got a neon sign behind us. It's not perfectly in the shot. You know, every single time
you'll have that fixed for the next
it'll be
episode.
fixed by the next episode. But yeah, you know, we're just keep improving the look, improving the feel, trying to go for it. Drinking my energy drink over here.
What is that?
It's energy. Just lightning in a bottle.
I
is
drink
what it is.
coffee.
I don't. I can't.
Why can't you drink coffee?
Because a certain former employer of both of ours was a place that you worked really, really hard and never stopped. So by the end of Sunday mornings, I would have drank 6 or 7 cups of coffee by noon. And my body at one point was just like, hey, yeah, no, you're done.
Yeah.
You're done. You're not going to do that anymore.
Your body does not like coffee.
Yes.
It does not care for gluten.
No, it does not.
It does not like bananas.
No.
Anything
all
else
those
on the
things.
list?
Cats.
Cats.
But
Oh,
that
that's
one's
right.
okay.
Hey, you're allergic to cats.
Yes. I'm allergic to cats.
That's probably best.
Speaking of cats, I heard that your favorite character on The Office is Angela. Is this true?
Oh, what are you even saying?
Well, that was gonna be like our icebreaker question. I was gonna say, like, who is your favorite character on The Office? But because you love cats so much, it would be
It's
Angela,
not-
wouldn't it?
Oh, for crying out loud. Half the people who watch this have never seen an episode of The Office.
That's okay.
You're not missing anything. No, you know, I don't know. I like a lot of characters from The Office. It's a funny show.
Who would you say is like top 2?
Well, Michael.
Michael is
It's
it for you?
hard to beat Michael,
It's true.
Dwight, Jim. It's hard to beat any of them.
It's true. It's a great show.
It's a great. We're not recommending
It's an
it.
entertaining show.
We are not recommending it.
We are
on the
not.
podcast.
It does get quoted
We're just
around the-
noting that we have watched it.
We have watched it. We do quote it often around our office as well. So
Yeah.
there it
Well,
is.
it's, you know, when you think about stuff like that, when I watch on TV, lots of stuff has been informed because I have kids in my house.
Yes,
Right? So
correct.
lots of like, you're always careful about what your kids are consuming, what your kids are listening to,
Yep.
what your kids are watching. In fact, that's what I want to talk about in this episode is about our kids.
About our kids.
Yeah, I want to talk about this. There's lots of things we could talk about with parenting. There's a lot of things we could talk about with kids. There's lots of material from all kinds of places. But
Yes.
I want to talk today about educating our kids.
Yeah.
You okay with that?
I'm great at
All
great
right,
with that.
Kyle, how many kids do you have?
I have 4 kids.
Yeah, I have 5 kids.
Yes, you do.
How many school-aged K through 12 kids do you still have?
Right
in
now,
your house?
all 4 of mine are K through 12.
4, and I have 1 left.
Yes, you're
So,
in a different phase of life.
yes.
It's all right.
So it's an interesting decision when you have kids. What are we going to do to send them to school?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if it's changing for people. It used to be like you just went to school.
Correct.
Whatever public school was in your neighborhood, grade school, middle school, high school, you just sent your kids there. It wasn't a lot of thinking about it.
Yes.
But what happened over time is public schools became a place that didn't regularly support the views of Bible-believing Christians. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
people historically have talked about what happened in schools. They took prayer out of schools. They began to teach evolution in schools. They taught now it's even radically completely different than that.
Oh gosh.
I just read an article today that in this, is it Maryland? That you can't opt out of pro-LGBTQ curriculum for your kids. You can't opt out. You're not allowed by law to opt out. Your kids have to hear it. This is why we're going after the kids. So this is why.
Yep.
Christian people in particular, are thinking so much about school.
Mm-hmm.
What am I supposed to do with my kids? You know, I don't want to raise my kids in a bubble. You don't want to raise your kids in a bubble.
Correct.
But I am called to protect.
Absolutely.
I'm called to love. I'm called to lead. I'm called. In fact, this is a verse I hear all the time. I see this everywhere. I see this on church signs, Christian school signs. I see this everywhere. Proverbs 22:6. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it.
Yeah, come on.
So, first of all, that is an awesome truth for everyone who has a prodigal right now.
Yeah.
He will not depart from it, and that's beautiful.
It is.
But I'm thinking about train up a child. That is not, let me just repeat this. That is not the job of the school. That is not the job of the church. That is the job of the parent.
Right.
It is my job to train up my children in the way they should go. Now, as a parent, I'm looking around going, there's all these tools that are going to help me raise my kid. There's soccer league on the lower end
Yep.
to there's church on the highest end. I hope that the church would be a place that's helping me raise my kid up in the Lord.
Yeah.
Between kids ministry and student ministry, my kid is going to have a furtherance of their walk with the Lord, right? That's what I'm hoping for. But then I have this whole tool of a school. Where am I going to send my kid to school? That's going to be the best opportunity for them to succeed. And you have public school, you have private school, you have homeschool. Those would be the three big categories I would come up with. And we've done all three. You've done all three.
Yes. At different points of the game, it's crazy. This is crazy. I talked to my teenage boys. That is crazy in and of itself. But I have
you
teenagers.
teenage boys.
Gosh, when we moved down here, they were in 3rd grade, and now they're in 7th grade. It's just mind blowing. But I talked to them, and every year that we've lived in Florida, those boys have had a different school. And the reason for that is that, like, Chelsea and I have never said it's just a one size fits all, like you just hit play and then let it run on autopilot for the rest of your kid's life, right?
Yeah.
We're constantly every year praying and just asking the Lord towards the end of the school year, what is the right call for each kid next year?
Right.
And, you know, it looks different for every kid every year. Like the first year we were here, we moved during the school year. So we just had all of our kids doing online stuff. And then, you know, each kid we had a different program for each one of them because they're all different and they all learn differently and they need different things at different points in time. Like this year, we decided we're keeping all 4 of them home because that's what they really, truly needed this year. And I will say it has been hard, extremely hard.
You think?
We're only a couple weeks in and it's like the number of times Chelsea has texted me and said, "Hey, is today bring your kid to work day?" And I said, "No, it's not." Nice try though.
Bring them over.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
We'll put them on the podcast next time.
Oh gosh, that'd be something. But no, it's got to be different for each kid. But we see the payoff, right? We see that it was the right decision in the way that they are thriving and flourishing. Now, does that mean that we're going to homeschool all 4 next year? Absolutely not. Not necessarily.
You don't know.
We don't know, and
You
that's
don't know.
yeah.
So that's the thing. But I get asked a lot.
Yes.
As a pastor, what should I do? Here's what I'm going to tell you should do. You should do what's best for your family and for your child. That's what you should do.
In this season.
In this season. Whatever's right now is what you should do. Now, let's talk about pros and cons of all 3.
Okay.
Let's take those 3. Let's go public school, private school, homeschool.
Great.
Let's talk pros and cons of all 3. I hear so much shade being thrown at public schools. Mm-hmm. And rightfully so, they've earned it.
Oh, yes.
Okay?
Yes.
You know, you see what happens, the materials that are coming into classrooms, the agenda that's coming into classrooms that are not fighting. Here's the pros of public school. It's usually close to my house. Mm-hmm. It doesn't cost anything, which is a big pro for a lot of people. Like I can't afford time, money, all of it. It's the best stewardship play for us. It puts my kid in a real world experience. Yeah. This is what your peers look like and act like, you succeed here or not. That's on all levels. The cons of it are, I don't know what's being taught there and who's teaching it. Those are 2 big things.
Those are very big.
What is being taught and who's teaching it, because people have an agenda.
Yes.
Now, we have awesome, and I mean awesome, public school teachers who attend our church. We have lots of public school teachers actually who attend our church.
Yeah.
I could not be happier they're there. Way to be a light in the darkness.
Absolutely.
Those teachers have an agenda. They're going to share Christ as much as they can. Mm-hmm. And they are, lots of teachers I talk to, they're going to the school librarian and saying, I don't want this, get this book out. Mm-hmm. This is too agenda filled on kids' sexuality. We shouldn't even be talking to little kids about sexuality. Let's just start with that. If you're in grade school, there's no need to have this conversation.
Correct.
Great. I don't know what we're fighting about. But you have agenda-filled people. And if you have the wrong teacher, what they want to say to your kid will get said. And I don't hear it. I don't know what got said. My kid, you know, if you're listening to this podcast, you have kids, you have grandkids, you ask them how their day was and what they learned, you're going to get a 1-word answer, which is not sufficient for the 8 hours they were there.
Correct.
I don't think that can be
What'd you
adequately
learn?
Something. Nothing or okay, or what was your favorite thing?
Yeah.
Lunch.
Recess.
So there are I have some genuine concerns about public school. Full disclosure, my last kid in home is a sophomore, and she goes to a public charter school. It is a public school in every way.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk in a minute. I'm going to come back to what can we do.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's pros and cons. You have to think about it. But for you, it might be, this is the only thing we can afford. It's close to our house. I can't afford private school. They're expensive.
They are very expensive.
And I don't have the time to homeschool. It might be your choice. Then you have private school. You know, I was part of the board of a private Christian school for a long time. You taught at a private Christian school for a long time. I'll tell you, most of my kids got raised up in private Christian school, and it was amazing. I'm so happy about it. They were getting taught the Bible by teachers who were vetted, who loved the Lord, who genuinely cared about the kids, all of it.
Yeah.
That part is really great. There are some cons to private school. You might be surprised to learn this. Tell me a little about it, Kyle.
It's the bubble, right?
Yeah.
The problem with a private school, well, there are several, but one of the cons is that you are stuck in this bubble, and you never get to actually put some feet to your faith, right? Your faith is like you are hearing Bible from your Bible teacher. You're hearing it from all your other core classroom teachers because they're integrating it into the curriculum, which is awesome. And you should do that. You're getting it from chapel. You're getting it from all these places, but you're not actually getting a way to go out into the real world and to act it out and to grow in your own faith. And so one of the things that Chelsea and I always said, because that was a big thing for us moving here when you offered the job and said, hey, we got a spot for you in Naples. Like, I would love to have you come down. That was one of our big things was we really struggled with pulling our kids from this great Christian school that they were all getting grown up in this awesome education. And I told Chelsea, I said, like, I don't want to see our kids graduate from a Christian school. I would much rather them actually graduate Christians from school.
Yeah, come on.
Because they need to learn what is it to actually like have my own faith. And when you're stuck in that bubble, sometimes you're so insulated that you don't ever really get to practice your faith. And then when you go out into the real world, I've seen so many of these kids that they graduate from high school, they've been there their whole life at this Christian school, and then they get out in the real world and everything falls apart for them first semester of college because they weren't adequately prepared for it.
That's right.
And they didn't know how to interact with people out in the real world. That's not every kid's story, though.
That's right.
And so
it's
that
not.
that is
kids
a struggle.
do well with it. I would say another struggle is, if I'm being honest, apathy and hypocrisy.
Yes.
So you're at a Christian school, you're a Christian kid from a Christian home, but you don't live Christian. There's no part of you that is this.
Yes.
And you have an ability to affect a lot of people around you. So you think your kids are in a great environment. They might not actually be in such a great environment in their friend group because it's either super apathetic, which I've seen, or hypocritical, which I've seen.
Yes.
You know, and from administration on down. So you have to be careful about private school. It's not the end all be all.
Right.
Here's another one. It's expensive.
It is very expensive.
You're already paying your taxes for your local school district, then you're doing these other things, and then you're writing a very hefty check. Not everybody can write a hefty check for their kids to go to and learn in a Christian environment. So you're left with sort of option 3, which is homeschool. And I think that's what most people feel. They were like, I kind of went down the list.
Yes.
And that doesn't seem the right fit for us as I train up my child in the way they should go. That wasn't a good fit. As I train up my child in the way they should go, that wasn't a good fit. Homeschool's a good fit.
Yes.
It's a lot of really awesome things about homeschool. I know exactly what my kids are learning every day. I get to choose for them what they're learning every day. They're in an environment where I can still see and offer protection and care. This is what Bethany and I did with all of our kids when they were little. Kindergarten, first, second grade. Everybody got a year or two at home. It's still a nurturing season in their life when they're in first. They're 6 years old, 7 years old, 5 years old. You can still nurture them a little bit. You can help them progress. It's easier to teach them. There's not complicated algebra when they're 6 years old.
Come on.
There's lots of things that are really, really great about homeschool. There are also some things that aren't awesome about homeschool. I would say some of the cons for us with homeschooling, just giving my experience, is number one, the education wasn't as strong as they would have gotten someplace else because we're the teacher. And or we farm it out to somebody else with a different book or whatever. Like one of the things with my high schoolers when we first moved here, the kids were home. Well, one of my kids was done after an hour. I had an hour work at school. I hear this from a lot of homeschool families, by the way. It's like an hour of work and you're done. Well, one of my kids went and worked.
Yep.
All day. I'm like, that is not what I'm equipping you to do right now. Time out.
Yes.
This is not what I'm calling you
Yes.
to do right now.
Come on.
So there's that. And the second thing is it's harder. You have to work harder at. One of the cons can be you don't develop peer-to-peer relationships. Now, I know some people are working in all these things. Don't get defensive with me if you're watching this, okay? There's some ways you can overcome it in public school. We're going to talk about there's ways you can overcome some of those things in private school. I'm not carte blanche, and I'm not carte blanching it in homeschool. There's ways you can overcome it. And I know people are looking for micro schools, and I know that people are trying to get my kid with other kids one day a week. And it's all great. I'm not saying this is a problem. I'm very close to a person who was homeschooled, and they would say, they're a grown adult saying, it hurt me relationally with my peers. I don't quite know how to relate because I missed some key years, is what they would say to me anyway. But it's not true of everybody, but it is one of the ways it can be a con. It's a lot of like, I love being with my kids. I wish they were home longer, but sometimes I'm like, it's okay that you went to school today.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I needed to think and be. And frankly, homeschooling, somebody has to work in the family. So one of the cons is it tends to put a lot more work on one spouse over the other. If you're married, if you're a single parent, it's even more complicated to do homeschooling. But it does put a lot of work on one person in the marriage to do it. It's usually the wife, not always true, but it's just a lot of pressure on a person to. You got 4 kids. Chelsea's home all day. No wonder why she wants to send them to. Can you take your kid to work day? When are you home? So, I mean, you can, extracurriculars, you can figure all that out. But those would be, so that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
These seem to me to be pros, cons. Do you have any other pros, cons list for my homeschool crew? As a guy who's in the middle of it now.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that it's great getting to see your kids. And, like this morning, I got them all up and I said, we're not touching anything else until you go and you read your Bible. I had one of them, he was reading Around the World in 80 Days because that's his literature book for the week. And I was like, have you spent time with the Lord yet? And he's like, well, no. I said, okay, put that away and go get your priorities right and start that. Now, do I do that every day? No, but like this morning, that's what we did. Yeah. And it was great. And it's really good. Like you get to have that level of influence on your kids. Yeah. You also have flexibility. Like, if we want to, I know for the week of Thanksgiving, it doesn't matter what happens with the school schedule. Like, we can take a couple of days and go camping.
How lovely.
Or, we had family in town. We were able to go and just hang out with family last week on Friday. And we, worked our schedule out so that they did their school at a different time and they made it work.
And so huge pro in the category.
That is a huge pro.
Family time is the best time.
Yes.
I'm training my child in the way I believe they should go, right? I've always taken our kids out of school whenever I felt to. Yeah. As long as you're getting what you need. Like there's no perfect attendance records at my house because we're doing too many things.
I did have one of your children for first block, and I will say, yes, perfect attendance is not a thing that Donaldson's have.
First block. Oh, also tardiness. No, it's so here's what I'm going to say to you. Because there's pros and cons to everything, you have to think clearly about what you're doing. Don't let anyone else influence you on your decision. And also, we don't judge each other for our decisions we make for a family, right? You don't judge me. I don't judge you. We're doing what's the best thing that we believe right now in this season. So all that back to say, how do you make some things better? So I have public school in my head right now. Public school is taking a beating in the news right now. School boards, people are pulling out of schools or looking for other options. I don't know. I grew up in public school. My mom taught in public school. My kids have gone to public school here and there. We have teachers in the public school. My heart says this is where the bulk of the kids, think of where we live, Collier County.
Yep.
I don't know the percentage, but I would guess it's got to be close to 90% of the kids who live in Collier County go to public school.
Absolutely, yeah.
So if all the Christians pull out,
there's no
if the
Christian influence
teachers
in school.
leave, if the Christian kids leave, there's no Christian influence at the place where 90% of the kids are. We got a problem.
Yep.
And our country isn't going to get better. Our Christian community isn't going to get better if we don't have kids interacting and meeting other Christian people. And so here's what I think. I think if your kids go to public school, like mine does, I go to public charter to make that distinction. It's a
Yes.
little different, but it isn't different.
Yes.
Be involved. Get engaged. Bethany and I are as engaged as we can get with the time that we have. I talk to the school administration. I want to have their ear. I want them to know this is who we are. This is what we think. This is what we believe. I know that this isn't that,
Yep.
but I have some expectations. If other parents can be loud in the ear, so can I on a different front. And we're not mean, we're not grouchy, we're actually super supportive, and they happen to love our kids. And but my kids invite a ton of kids from public school to student ministry.
Yes.
And they come.
Absolutely.
They invite tons of kids.
Yeah.
That's great. We have lots of teachers at that school who come to our church, and I want to support them, help them, care for them. If you don't have a kid in the public school, you should go to a school board meeting. You should stand up for Christian beliefs and values and principles. Somebody should be thinking about running for school board. I think about this all the time. Why aren't Christians in a place of influence, in the place where the most people are? I just don't want to abandon it. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to abandon it. Now, it's different when your kids are little and they're so impressionable,
Yes.
but I would hope by high school my kids are at least certain enough about what they believe and we raise them that way that they can, instead of being influenced,
They
can
can-
be an influence.
Yes.
That's the hope, that there's salt and light over at the school because my kids are there, our family's there, we're involved there. But it's hard in grade school and middle school. I'm going to tell you, it's really, really hard. But you got to overcome this. So go to a school board meeting, get involved, do whatever you can at the public school. If your kid's in private school, you really need to think about where are you personally in your walk with the Lord. I know that you get Bible class every day, so my kids would come home. I get Bible class every day. I don't want to read my Bible today. Well, Bible class and your walk with the Lord are two completely different things.
Yes.
And are you living this out? And is this significant to you? And you really need to be with your kids. Don't assume just because they're in a private school that they're in a place they need to be with the Lord. Trust me, we did a lot of discipline issues at the school. Dealt with a lot of things that, here's the thing. The same, everybody's like, oh, the problems at the public school aren't at the private school. They're all there.
Yeah, it's the
It's
same.
how you handle it.
Yes.
It's how it gets handled at the private school is different than how it gets handled at the public school. That's the thing I care about, right? Because it's about discipleship.
Yep.
Public school's not thinking about discipling my kid. They're just thinking about getting through today.
Yes.
They're not thinking about discipleship. The private Christian school is. It's an awesome opportunity. Homeschool. I would say to you, if you homeschool your kids, I mean, awesome. Good for you. That's really investing. That's jumping in the deep end of the pool of investing and training up your kid. Make sure that they're getting the education they need. That's the point of school. Make sure they're getting the education they need. Double check their curriculum. Find the great thing. And then number 2, make sure they're getting outlets to get with other kids their age. I think about it as a bit as a church, and I've talked to Kyle and Chelsea about this a bit. I would love for our church to figure it out. If you're watching, this is CCN Backstage, you go to our church, you homeschool. If you have some thoughts about this or ideas, I would love to hear them. But I would love to utilize the talents that we have at our church to do a 1 day a week sort of micro school here at the church where you could get music, worship lessons. Chelsea could do some art. We have people in our church who are so gifted in many things. You could get math tutoring. You could do some extracurricular stuff. You could get taught something.
Yep.
I just like this idea so much. I really want to run it down and see if we can't make something work for next school year.
Yeah.
Like, how would that work? Like some level of exercise, something with a team. I don't know. But I want to support that the best we can because there's so many parents now making that decision. But I would say you have to decide for yourself. So if you want to know what I think you should do with your kid, I think I've already said it.
Yeah.
In this season, what's best for you, your family, your child, that's the thing you should do. You are responsible to train up your child. You're responsible to give them the inheritance of the gospel. You're responsible for giving them the very best opportunity to follow Christ. That's your job.
Yep.
So whatever tools you can find that will help you make that decision and give your kids the very best chance to follow Jesus, that's what you should do.
Absolutely.
So there it is. Deep thoughts on education with Jeff and Kyle.
I love it. That's great. Episode 4 in the books. See you next week for episode 5.